AMC it's been around for a while. At Intentwise, we've been using AMC for a couple of years now. But overall, within brands, there's still lots of opportunity for adoption to increase. And so that really opens up the ability for AMC to be a competitive difference for you as a brand. You can have insights that your competitors don't have into things like a shopper's journey. You can activate audiences that your competitors can't, like people who have abandoned cart. So it's an opportunity for it to be a difference in how you can drive performance compared to your competition. I'll appreciate everyone for jumping on. For those of you who aren't familiar with us or familiar with Intentwise, just a little bit of background. So Intentwise is we kind of help brands and agencies in three different buckets. Really, the core of what we do is helping from an analytics solution perspective. So we're helping brands and agencies house all of their data in one place, whether that's sponsored ads data, seller central or vendor central data, competitive insights, right? And then we present that in a couple of different ways. So the first is our Amazon Marketing Cloud solution, which we're going to dive a little bit more into, just more AMC general use cases today, but we'll touch on how our platform helps with there. And we have an ad optimization solution for helping reduce the time it takes for ad optimization. And then we have a full analytics suite for reporting and insights as well. I'm Kenton. I'm a product evangelist here at Intentwise. I've been with Intentwise about 18 months or so. And really excited to walk through AMC and all of that pertains around it today. And then Srinath, I'll let you do a quick intro on yourself as well.
Yeah, quick intro. I'm one of the founders here, based in San Diego. And I think for those of you that may be joining us for the first time, the way we think about what IntentWise does is the likes of Amazon and Walmart are sharing more data than ever before, but it tends to be very fragmented. And our mission is fairly simple, which is how do we help you corral all that and get you insights as quickly as possible. Today's topic is AMC. It fits right into that bucket. With that, let's dive in.
Yeah, so before we kick off, just a quick frame of things. If you aren't aware, back at Accelerate, I guess 2 weeks ago now, Amazon rolled out AMC availability for all brands natively in your ad console. So if you go to your ad console, you should be able to activate AMC without any instant setup, anything technical setup right in the console. And so with AMC being available for everybody, we really want to focus on how you can make AMC a competitive advantage to help you drive growth. And so to do that, we're going to kind of break this down into three different buckets today. The first of which is understanding what AMC is and how can you communicate what AMC is to different stakeholders you might have within your business. Some use cases that'll help us get started with AMC, and some audiences that we can start to activate that'll help us drive better ad performance, whether that's in the DSP or sponsored ads. So to kind of frame things a little bit here before we get started, I want to kind of take a look at what a typical shopper journey might look like. Right? So this is just an example. Most shoppers are going to have a multitude of touch points, right? In this example, we see someone had a DSP ad impression, then they clicked that ad, then they saw a sponsored product ad, then they're seeing a sponsored display ad. They had a couple different shopping interactions, and then they finally purchased. Right? So this is just an example of what my shopping journey might be, for an example. The problems that we run into as a part of this kind of fall into three different buckets. The first of which is a lack of measurement, right? So Amazon is going to attribute all of my purchase behaviors to that last ad interaction by default, right? And that's going to cause not only a disconnect between the upper funnel and the lower funnel, but even an attribution disconnect within the lower funnel. So in this example, all of the sales attribution would go to this sponsored display ad click, and I'd have no insight into the performance or implication into the purchase that came from DSP or sponsored products. Additionally, I have no insight into add to wish, add to cart, or any other shopping events outside of the final purchase to know how many people are adding to cart but never purchasing, how many people, what's the conversion rate impact when someone adds to cart before the purchase, right? Insights like that aren't going to be available natively within Amazon ads. So this is where AMC really comes in and helps solve this solution. AMC is going to give us visibility into every interaction somebody has before they make a purchase, whether that's ad impressions, ad clicks, or shopping events like an add to cart. To be able to fully measure the effect that every interaction someone's having with my brand might be. And to give it kind of an easier frame on what AMC is, but really want to simplify it down into two buckets. AMC is really going to allow us to look at shoppers, how they're interacting with you on two different levels, and combining that all to make what Amazon Marketing Cloud is. To break that down a step further, a shopper, right? So I could be a shopper, Srinath could be a shopper, you could be a shopper, and every single one of us is going to have a unique user ID that we're being tracked by as we go throughout our journey at Amazon. So as I'm seeing different ads, right? That's where we're going to get to the interactions bucket. So you can see here two different types of interactions, adding advertising events, both views and clicks, as well as shopping events. So as I'm interacting on the platform, viewing ads, adding to cart, all of that's going to get tied back to my unique shopper ID. And then AMC is going to allow us to query that and get insights into both shoppers and their interactions. So if you get one thing out of today, this is a great way to kind of simplify AMC and communicate it to people who may not be as familiar with what AMC might be. And finally, to frame what AMC is and more importantly, what we can do with it, that's kind of going to break down into two different buckets. The first of which is performance insights. We're going to be able to dive into all that data we just looked at on the last slide, analyzing our customer events, both advertising events and shopping events. And then we can create audiences on top of that data as well to help us go target these customers or expand our reach against customer segments that we know are performing well. And those will be applicable both to DSP or sponsored ads, depending on where you have advertising activated. So now that we kind of have a frame of what AMC is and some of the top line of how we would use it, I want to dive into specifically first on the insight side, some exact use cases that we could look at, right, to help us drive those insights. And then we'll later look at the audience side of this as well.
One quick interjection here, Kenton. There's just a ton in AMC that we perhaps cannot cover in 30 minutes, but I am currently doing educational series of posts, bite-sized ones on different topics. I'm going to share with you my link to my first post and then just follow along because over the next month to 2 months, I'll be publishing a ton of bite-sized information that may be easier for you to consume on AMC.
That's a great call out. And I would also just frame before we jump into these, we're only going to touch on 4 examples today, but you can see in our platform, there's already lots of other examples. And on top of that, a lot of the value from AMC starts to come from having use cases that are built custom to the business questions that you're facing. And so I wouldn't look at these 4 as limitations or all you're ever going to look at on AMC, but think of this more as a starting place so that you can start to derive some insights from Amazon Marketing Cloud. So the first one is a pretty common use case called path to conversion. This is going to allow me, like we looked at that customer journey before, to break down every step in a customer's journey and see the effect that it's having on different metrics, right? So in this example, I can see here at the top, what are my top spending paths to someone's eventual purchase? And how does the purchase rate differ between those top 5 paths? So I might see in this example, right, a DSP followed by a sponsored product and a sponsored display ad has a really strong purchase rate for me. And that might be a path where, okay, how can I go push more spend towards that? And we'll talk about on an audience perspective, how we can start to do that a little bit later as well. Maybe I'm pushing a lot of dollars towards sponsored display, right? And so I might want to see, what are all the paths that follow sponsored display as a first ad interaction, right? What's the incrementality that I'm bringing from sponsored display? And you can see here, right? I could see, how does it follow from a sponsored product ad? I'm getting a lot of sales there. If I add a DSP ad behind that, how do things change? Right? And so this can give us a great frame into the down funnel effect that some of our higher funnel ads are having. So main point here is pretty much that, right? How can I measure the total impact that higher funnel ads like a DSP, sponsored display, even sponsored brands are having on my performance? We got a question in the chat. There's only 2 options available in dashboards. One other. If it's referring to the dashboards within Intentwise, if you're only seeing 2 available, that might just be because the queries haven't been pulled for that. There's definitely a longer list available. So if you're running into that specifically, I'd recommend using our support chat and we can help get that issue resolved specifically for you.
Or you could just, if you want to message one of us, we can drop our emails. Vaibhav, go ahead and drop our 2 emails, please. So just feel free to reach out. You can activate them shortly.
So that's path to conversion. That's one use case that I definitely would recommend activating. The next that we're going to touch on is called new to brand gateway ASINs. So I can see here, broken down by product, what is my rate of new customer acquisition? And this is super valuable because without this, there's not a cross funnel attribution into new to brand in any other place outside of AMC. Sponsored product ads on Amazon don't have any type of new to brand attribution. And the new to brand attribution that I'm even seeing in like a DSP ad doesn't take that full advertising scope into account. Right? And so we're going to be able to take every ad type into account and fully attribute all of your new to brand shoppers on a product level here. So I could see, what are my top products by both total new to brand users as well as new to brand purchase percentage. So how many of my total users are new to brand? Then if I'm noticing, one product is outperforming from, maybe this product right here, outperforming from a percentage perspective on how many users are new to brand, this might be a product that I want to push more spend behind if I have a strong goal on acquiring net new customers over repeat customers. And we can break that down fully by product and see all of the different new to brand metrics that you might care about in terms of product or client acquisition on a product level. Really, the goal here again is how can I identify opportunities to drive more new to brand customers by increasing spend on products that are outperforming the rest of my account from a new to brand perspective.
One comment here, one of our clients, Amazon, we actually published a case study with Amazon where the new to brand by ASINs was super valuable. They had a catalog of about 24 to 2,500 products. About 11 of them were driving much more new to brand acquisition. So they reallocated spend, changed some ACOS goals, and in the process increased their overall new to brand for the accounts. I'm actually sharing this in the chat. This is the case study Amazon published for us. So just check it out when you get a chance.
So we're going to jump into a new use case called shopping abandoners. And just a quick frame on this one. If you are not an Intentwise customer and you are in your AMC console within actual Amazon ads portal, this isn't a use case that you're going to see there. This is actually something that this and as well as the next use case we'll look at are actually ones that we've custom developed here at Intentwise. So any Intentwise users, this is available for you. But even for non-Intentwise users, I think this is a great use case to think about as you start to think about expanding past the standard set of use cases that Amazon provides. So this one called shopping abandoners is going to allow us to see across a customer's journey, where are we losing them? Where are they abandoning their shopping journey? And we're going to break that down by different shopping events, such as, detail page views, adding to carts or lists, right? Any viewing the review page. And to break that down, so I can identify where do I have large gaps, right? Where in my shopper funnel am I starting to lose customers? But to make that a little bit more actionable and break it down a step further, we're going to break down not only the awareness audience, the intent size audience, we're measuring that based off of someone who viewed a product but didn't take an action, and then someone who took an action, such as adding to cart, but hasn't purchased yet. So by product, what is the size of those audiences? And then we take that a step further by breaking it down by event. So I could see here, hey, I have almost 70,000 users who have viewed this product and viewed my product detail page, but never purchased, right? Or added to cart or taken a further event. I can also see here that after adding to cart, 80 to 100 users haven't taken another step. So if I wanted to go more after acquiring more customers for this product, looking at people who have already viewed my detail page or added a product to cart would be a great first step. And I could actually activate an audience, and we'll talk about a specific use case around this in a second, but I could actually activate an audience of everybody who's viewed this detail page but not purchased and go use that in my sponsored ads or DSP strategy.
Yeah, one quick comment here for all Intentwise customers. You're probably seeing a brand new set of visuals. We upgraded our solution last week. But then what I also want to call out is that we are going down a path where, because of AI, we're getting away from the old style of dashboards where they're just dashboards, you can't take action. We're going to embed action in these dashboards. So very soon there'll be little buttons in each cell where you can activate audience straight from here and push them into sponsored ads and DSP. That's coming pretty soon, sometime in October. But we are very excited about this new way of delivering dashboards to our clients.
We had another question here. Do we have to have AMC audiences set up and running to get this data showing? That's a great question. No. So I would look at insights and audiences separately. So this data that you see here has no relation to an actual AMC audience. This is going to be every single user that viewed your page and didn't take any action after that, or added to cart and didn't take action after that, or on our path to conversion example, saw us every customer that went down any ad interaction path. So definite short answer is no. you audiences would be separate, where we would start to take this data, and we'll talk about a couple exact use cases for that. But we'd start to take this data, and then we could actually create audiences of these user cohorts, like everybody who added this product to cart but hasn't purchased. And then we can go activate that audience within our ad strategy to try to acquire those customers. Hopefully that answers your question there. Awesome. So the last report we're looking at is called Shopper Funnel. The value here is we're going to be able to measure month by month, what are the new to brand customer acquisition? What does that look like? Like how many total new to brand customers are we acquiring? And then what's my cost of acquiring each of those customers month by month? This is super valuable, especially for vendors, if you're a vendor, because outside of AMC, there's not any way to truly identify how many total new to brand customers I have or get to a good CAC metric for that. Right? So this is going to allow us to see truly over time, are we seeing improved performance or decreasing performance as it comes to acquiring new customer sets across the entirety of our ads. I could also see phases of the funnel as it pertains to new and repeat shoppers. So where am I losing them? Right? How many new to customers am I reaching? How many new customers are interacting with my ads or my product page? And then how many are actually purchasing? So if I see a large percentage of the people I reach are actually purchasing, I might want to go focus a little bit more on driving additional reach from my ads. And that's where we could loop this back into that new to brand gateway ASIN as an example. So really key point here, we always recommend for the brands that we work with at Intentwise that you should make not only new to brand, but customer acquisition costs an operating metric for how you evaluate month by month advertising performance. And so having a visual like this makes that super simple to have those two metrics be almost a measure of success, as most of our advertising should be focused on that new client acquisition.
So, yeah, I want to reiterate this point. So many of us as advertisers, we care so much about new customer acquisition. So I think AMC for the first time gives us the ability to track that as an operating metric, just like you would do with sales and ACOS and ad spend and so on and so forth. That's really the kind of the ultimate value here. And then tied to that, of course, is cost of acquisition of new customers. Now, one thing I'll call out is this is a standard view, and right now it's a 12-month look back. There's a question. Let me repeat the question. What is the look back that Amazon considers NTB? Is it still annual purchases every 12 months with MC, or is there a longer window now? Great question. This is not Amazon defined. This view is nothing to do with what Amazon defines. By default, you've got a 12 and a half months of rolling data within AMC. That's what we use to determine whether somebody is new or not at any given time. That said, Amazon has now opened up a 5-year retail purchase data. It's called Amazon Retail Purchases as part of the paid subscription. There's a 60-day trial and there's a $500 a month charge for it. But with that data set, you've got 5 years of data at a shopper level and an ASIN level. So you can decide what you want to define as new to brand. Some companies, we met with a company where they sell a product and people have to come back and buy accessories on a regular basis, like cartridges. The way they defined it is purchase of a cartridge is not new to brand, but purchase of the actual product is. So you could come up with your custom definition. And the thing about Intentwise is we can custom craft the queries and customizations and have a metric here visualized that suits specifically your business.
I would say, just to kind of summarize that, Amazon by default limits us to that 12 months, right? But like Srinath mentioned, we could get to that 5 years, and we would typically recommend experimenting with a 3-year, a 5-year look back at least once during that trial period. We've seen some super interesting insights from expanding that look back window and comparing new to brand rates on that 1 year versus a 3 or 5-year span. So those were the four reports that we wanted to look at today, or the four insights we wanted to look at today. But I just want to reemphasize a point, Srinath, that you made. This is by no means a limitation. If you're not currently activating these four reports, or maybe you haven't activated anything yet in AMC, this is a great starting place. We'd recommend, today go pull all four of these reports, or if you're only in the Amazon console, at least the first two, and start to derive some insight from AMC. But the real value is where you're going to start deriving custom business questions or expanding past this list. And that's where we can be a resource for any brands or agencies by helping develop custom queries, custom visuals, making any edits to queries. So if you have those custom questions or want to see things a little bit differently, let us know, and we'd be happy to help you guys develop that roadmap to derive some more specific insights out of AMC. So the final section that I want to touch on today is how can we take all this data, right? It's great data, but how can we derive action out of that and start to see this impact the performance of our advertising campaigns? And so one of the best ways that we can do that is called bid boosting. Think about bid boosting very similarly to a placement adjustment, either in sponsored product or sponsored brand campaigns, right? So I can take, instead of a placement like top of search, I'm going to take an audience set, an example audience set. Like maybe if you remember the shopping abandoners view, we had for a specific ASIN, how many people added my product to cart but haven't yet purchased. I could create an audience of that cohort, send that to my sponsored ads account, and then I could bid adjust for people who are in that user segment, right? So anybody who's in that user segment, searching a keyword that's in either my sponsored product or sponsored brand campaign, I can increase my bid adjustment up to 900% for them.
One important call out on the bid boosting, right? So for many of us that are primarily focused on sponsored ads and maybe with a little bit of DSP, you've got really two broad levels of activating audiences. One is bid boosting in sponsored product, sponsored brand. The other is targeting audiences in sponsored display. At least today we are covering the activation through sponsored product and sponsored brand. And because bid boosting is the only lever, that's why we are diving into the topic. One other call out on bid boosting, if you go back one slide, Kenton, is just like placement modifiers. You're basically telling Amazon anywhere from 0 to 900%. If the search is done by a member of that audience, you're willing to bid up to get an engagement or interaction from them. That's what you're saying. So it does stack up on top of placement modifiers, just for your awareness. The other reason why bid boosting is important is like without this, we would all do all kinds of path analysis and say, hey, people who saw DSP performed well in sponsored products and so on and so forth, but there was no way to actually act on it. But now you can create specific audiences and use this as a lever. So that's why the focus on bid boosting. Sorry, Kenton, you can keep.
No, that's a great point.
And on this one, let me just speak to it, Kenton. So this one, so the question is, okay, you're telling audience Amazon to bid more, but when does it make economic sense, right? Like, why would I bid more for the same shopper? So there's really three ways to think about it. One is if there's a pool of shoppers that just may have a propensity to convert better, increase bids on those, the math works out, right? Math makes it. That's one scenario. The other scenario is for whatever reason it's a cohort you believe can deliver higher lifetime value. And the third reason is somehow this cohort is just new to brand and you want to acquire them and you're willing to pay for them, as opposed to people who are coming back and buying. We have found that broadly, whatever audience you pick has to fit into one of these buckets. And then the bid boost will add value. Next slide, Kenton. And so in the top two buckets, conversion, where is the propensity to convert higher or higher lifetime value? We have some suggestions on some views and queries to look at. So in terms of conversion rates, looking at path to conversion or ad type overlap and finding those pockets where they're already demonstrating higher conversion rates, then you can pick the shoppers who haven't yet converted in those parts and bid higher for them, bid boost on them. The other very obvious one is shopper abandonment. They have indicated interest, very high interest, whether it's add to cart or add to wish list or whatever. Go create audiences of people who have abandoned, especially going into Prime Day and Turkey 5, where we all know there's a lot of shopping that happens, but people end up buying on the day off. This could be valuable. And on the lifetime value side, figuring out repeat purchase patterns, like when figuring out windows where after the first purchase, the second purchase happens by this much time and creating a pool of audiences accordingly could add value. And the last point here, and this is kind of no brainer, which is you can create a cohort of really high value shoppers. And they could be high value because they either repeat or their average order value is higher. And then you can go target them in your sponsored product and sponsored brand ads.
Those are the three main sections I think we wanted to cover on today. Just to kind of summarize that together, AMC it's been around for a while, right? At Intentwise, we've been using AMC for a couple of years now, but overall within brands, there's still lots of opportunity for adoption to increase. And so that really opens up the ability for AMC to be a competitive difference for you as a brand, right? You can have insights that your competitors don't have into things like a shopper's journey. You can activate audiences that your competitors can't, like people who have abandoned cart. So it's an opportunity for it to be a difference in how you can drive performance compared to your competition. The second point, and this is one that I really want to emphasize, I know we've said it a couple of times, but it's really important to build a roadmap of both insights and audiences that are answering business questions that you have. We would encourage get a spreadsheet and say, here is actually write out, here are the business questions that I have, even if you don't know if AMC can or cannot answer them. And then, work with someone like us, work with someone else that you might know that's a AMC expert to determine how can we turn those business questions that you're facing, especially as we head into Q4, into AMC through both insights and audiences to help answer that and act on it. And then finally, as it pertains to audiences, we gave a couple examples of what some audiences you might want to start with are, but that list, similar to queries, can be continually expanding. So our recommendation is to just rapidly test audiences, right? Add an audience to one of your campaigns, add a second audience to a different type of campaign, just because you can only have one audience per campaign at this moment. And if you see results, that's great. Start to increase that bid multiplier. If you don't see results, then test, give it 30 days and then test a new audience. But this is a fairly new function. And so that rapid experimentation is going to be what allows you to find the winners for your brand. So that's, again, most of what we had today. Just to close out, if you're not, again, following along with Srinath's educational series, that's a great way to get continued insight into what's happening with AMC, how can you start to activate AMC. So this QR code actually goes to his LinkedIn as well, or you can grab that link that we put in the chat. And then if you're ready to get started with AMC and you're not activating it today, or you want to have a more one-on-one conversation, feel free to reach out to us. We are activating AMC every single day. So we'd be more than happy to have a discussion on how you as a brand can make AMC work specifically for you. So you can use those emails that we put in the chat earlier, reach out to us on our website, and we'd be more than happy to have a one-on-one conversation about this as well.
For those of you that are going to unbox, we'll be there. We'll have a booth there. Just let us know, or you can even message me right now in the chat, but we'll be sure to connect with you. I think that's our next event that we'll be at. And then there's a lot more innovation around AMC that'll get rolled out before the year is over. So we'll keep you posted on that as well.
100%. Yeah, I definitely continue to follow along. We do these webinars on a regular basis. So we have lots of other marketing communication as well, or communication that you can get from us, whether that's our newsletter or following along on LinkedIn. And we'll definitely let you guys know as more updates come out around AMC. All right. Well, appreciate everybody taking the time today. I hope you guys have a great rest of your week, and look forward to seeing anybody on Unboxed in the near future as well. Thanks, y'all.